So today I want to talk to you about wellness, and wellness is one of those words that I hear all the time. I know that I want it in my life, and I want myself and my family to embrace wellness, to be well and healthy, but I'm never quite sure how to transfer that concept actively to my family and to our day-to-day routines and into our lifestyle. And it's something that I've been really looking into and researching a lot lately. For a few different reasons, it's really become top of my list of priorities. It's something that I'm very aware of, something that I'm willing to make changes in our life if I need to ensure that I am looking after the health and wellness of my family and myself. So if you're like me and you find the concept of wellness interesting, but you're just not sure how to implement it within your life outside of the things that you're already doing, then I hope you find this video helpful. I wasn't intending to make a video on this subject, but the other day I was thinking a lot of the content that I'm consuming on social media, on YouTube, reading, is to do with wellness at the moment. It's something that is really become a part of everything that I do, and I'm finding it fascinating. The things that I'm learning, the new YouTube channels and people on Instagram that I'm discovering to follow is something that I'm really interested in, and I'm enjoying researching it and learning more. And I figured if I'm enjoying it, then some of you guys might enjoy it too. So what I thought I might do is share a weekly video on this channel all about wellness, family wellness, wellness as a mum, and everything in between, all the things that I'm learning, things that I'm trying out, new routines, all that kind of thing. So if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed yet and that sounds interesting to you, then do hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you. So wellness for me feels like a huge concept, and of course everybody wants to be well and healthy and for their families to be well, but how do I actually implement that in my day-to-day life? So one of the first things that I read that really helped to break it down for me and make it feel more accessible was a blog post, which I will link for you in the description box, which talked about the 7 dimensions of wellness. And I thought I would use those 7 dimensions today to talk you through what I'm planning to do, the changes I've already made, and the direction I see myself going as I go on my wellness journey. I hate using the phrase journey, but I can't think of a better word off the top of my head. You know what I mean. As I learn more about wellness, I guess. So the first dimension of wellness is physical wellness. Now this one is probably one of the first things you think of, or at least it was for me. Lately I've been really aware of my body. I've noticed that my back is stiff a lot of the time. I'm not necessarily as strong as I need to be physically. My core strength is virtually non-existent after being pregnant and giving birth to 4 babies. I just feel like I need to build my strength back up. Core strength would help with my back and things like that. Things as you get older, obviously, and you're more tired looking after children, things do get achier, and you just don't feel the same way you did when you were a teenager. So I'm really aware that I don't just want to accept that those things happen, that my back is going to be stiff or my core strength is terrible. I want to actually do something about it. So every morning for some time now, I've been making the time to do some form of exercise, but the one that really works for me is yoga. And I used to do it years ago all the time. It made a massive difference to my core strength. I felt stronger, I felt more flexible, fitter. It benefited me mentally as well as physically. I just loved it, and somewhere along the way I've lost or fallen out of the habit. So I'm trying to really ingrain that into my daily routine because the benefits for me personally are huge. So that is my big physical wellness change, and one that I want to continue. And as I get fitter and stronger and feel better physically, I'm sure other things will follow, but that is the big one for me with physical wellness. Also under physical wellness, I'm very aware of my diet and changes that I want to make there. Not massive changes, but I'm just aware that things aren't quite right for me when it comes to my diet. I feel like I eat things that sometimes don't agree with me, but I eat them anyway, and I definitely feel a knock-on effect as a result of that. And if I tweak certain things, then I feel a lot better. So I've been doing my research around that kind of thing as well, and what works for me personally and for my family, and just trying to make the best healthy choices for us in terms of our diet as well. The next dimension of wellness is emotional wellness. Now this is one that I am terrible with. I've talked on my channel before about how I'm somebody that compartmentalizes my emotions, so I don't necessarily acknowledge them or often release them. I just store things away in little boxes in my head, so if something happens that's traumatic or upsetting, obviously I'm not a robot, I do have emotions, but I'm just not very good at dealing with them or sharing them with other people. I tend to keep everything inside, and that is something I've been aware of for a long time and something I want to work on. This is probably the one of the 7 dimensions that I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to progress on that front. For a lot of people, therapy works. I don't think that's necessarily where I need to go with it. Perhaps just trying to open up a bit more to people, to friends, family, talk a bit more about how I'm feeling. But also there's a stubborn side to me, so I only want to talk about it when I want to talk about it. So if Dan were to ask me, for instance, and I just wasn't in the mood to talk about it, I would bottle it all up and I wouldn't let go. So yeah, that one's going to be a tough one for me to work on. The blog post that I mentioned earlier talked about meditation to help with emotional wellness. That's something I've always been interested in, dabbled in very loosely, but never really formed a habit of meditation, and perhaps that's something I need to look at. I'd love to hear from any of you who meditate daily or regularly. Do you find that meditation helps you with dealing with your emotions? I'd love to hear from you. Do comment below if you have something to share on that, because that's the one area I think I'm really going to need some pointers, and it's going to take probably more work than the other areas. The 3rd dimension of wellness is social wellness. Again, this is one that I'm not great at, but I am getting better. So just getting out among other people, having meaningful social interaction with people. I'm quite an introvert, so I don't go out a great deal. I don't go to lots of groups. I take Marnie to classes and things, but I tend to spend that time focused on her rather than chatting to other people. So that's another area of my personal wellness that needs definite improvement. I talked about it in a video I did right at the beginning of the year, which was all about saying yes more and being open to opportunities. So it is something that I'm working on. I try to make time to see friends, but one thing that the blog post mentioned was perhaps joining a group which meets regularly. It forces you to go and develop those relationships with the people in the group, and there is a yoga class which I've been meaning to go to, which I did originally make plans to go to, and it all just went horribly wrong. It's hard to get out and about and commit to things when you have 4 kids, but this yoga group has quite a few sessions and I think I could probably make it, and I don't know, I think that might be a nice way for me to get that social interaction in a little bit more than I do currently. The 4th dimension of wellness is intellectual wellness. Now this one really interests me, and it focuses basically on keeping yourself creative, always learning, expanding your mind, surrounding yourself with people who you can have interesting, engaging discussions with. This one I feel like I'm pretty good at through my YouTube channel and the work that I do through social media and things. I feel like that challenges me creatively. It's an area I was definitely lacking in before I started doing this, and this has given me that sense of purpose and that creative output that I needed. And with all of these dimensions of wellness, obviously I'm talking about myself, but I want to really think about my family as well within this. So are they meeting their needs through all 7 of these things? And obviously the kids being in school, they really are challenging themselves, learning something new every single day, and I find myself quite inspired by them. So I think that's where family wellness comes in, because you can kind of inspire each other and help each other in each of these areas. So that's something I find really fascinating as well. For instance, Marion and I had a great conversation last night about the environment. She's really passionate about reducing plastic, so that's something that I'm going to make a real effort to do in our house, but with her help, really involve her. It's something she's working on in school. She's written an incredible short story about it, letters to our local council, things like that. So that's something that we can do as a family, which will help us to focus on our intellectual wellness and do something good at the same time. Number 5 is spiritual wellness, and for me that kind of comes back to mindfulness. I'm somebody that I feel like I can't ever get a grip on the moment, on time. I feel like my life is whizzing along almost in front of me and I can't catch up. And spiritual wellness for me is about making a huge effort to be present in the moment, be more mindful, be more aware of what's going on in the present moment instead of worrying about what's coming or what's happened that I can't change. And that is a big learning curve for me because I'm not very good at that at all, so it's something that I will be really working on. I follow a few channels on YouTube, one of which being my friend Aziz, who does a fantastic series on mindful motherhood, and some of her techniques have been really helping me, but that is an ongoing one that I am sure will have massive improvements for my mental wellness, because I constantly feel like I'm chasing my tail. I feel mum guilt for the times when I'm not focused on the kids in that moment and I'm distracted by other things. So spiritual wellness for me currently is about mindfulness and being present. Number 6 is environmental wellness, and I'm sure as parents we're all concerned about the future of our planet and doing our bit to make sure that we are looking after the world around us for our kids and their kids, etc. As I mentioned earlier, Merrin is teaching me so much through her own passion and enthusiasm for the subject. I'm learning a lot from her, and it's something I want to really put into practice in our home. I've started making little steps in terms of environmental wellness, which then have a knock-on effect on our physical wellness as well. I mentioned a documentary that I watched a few weeks ago in a video. I think it was my monthly favourites video. The documentary was called Stink. It's on Netflix. If you have a spare hour, hour and a half, definitely watch it. It was talking about the toxins and chemicals in everyday household products that we use around ourselves and our family. It really opened my eyes, made me think a lot about the products that I bring into our home and I use around my kids. So this is a massive one for me, but it's one that up until now I've been quite head in the sand about environmental wellness. I know that I should be doing more. I recycle, I have for years. I'm sure we all do, but there's so much more I can do. And by doing those things, it has a knock-on effect on other areas of your well-being. So that's a big one for me. So the final one is occupational wellness. So finding happiness and meaning in what you do. Again, this links back to using my creativity in things, but for me, having my YouTube channel provides me with occupational wellness. I feel like it gives me a purpose, it gives me something to focus on. That alongside looking after the kids and my home, those things together give me a really rounded sense of occupational wellness. I genuinely enjoy what I do, I get real pleasure from it, but also it forces me to strive, to work harder, to try to grow, to set myself goals and objectives. So all of that is really healthy, and I want to just build on that and keep myself focused on growing and just enjoying what I do. So those are the 7 dimensions of wellness, and I found that article really interesting. I definitely learned a lot from it, and it's definitely given me a practical approach and a framework to implement more wellness techniques and habits into my life. So as I said earlier, I will be doing a weekly video on family wellness, so that will vary massively each week. It could be sharing Instagram accounts or YouTube channels that are inspiring me, sharing recipes, things I'm learning about mindfulness, meditation, how I'm getting the kids involved, how we're reducing toxins in our home, alternative cleaning products, all that kind of thing. So there's a whole wealth of things to come. So if you'd like to follow my journey, there's that word again, if you'd like to follow my wellness journey, then please do hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you follow along. If you enjoyed the video, then do give it a thumbs up. It just shows me that you're interested in these kinds of videos and gives me an idea of the kind of thing that you want to see here on this channel. So that would be great. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.